regarding the sheltering.
And then our final ideas, Jefferson House actually kind of put this in our head yesterday. He mentioned, should the dorms be specifically compliant with 1616? Should they have their own evacuation plans? Things like that. And then what would happen if you know, a jail was built just across the street and an inmate education was built right there? What would, you know?
How would Purdue take those concerns into consideration if there was a private corporation that set up inmate education right into a public institution? If you have to evacuate together, you know, what concerns would go together with that?
So with that, I think that concludes our presentation. Any questions?
Maybe time for one question.
Yes.
Who's Jefferson?
Jefferson House is the assistant director for Purdue Emergency Management. Only has a director and assistant director, and he's the assistant director.
He gave a lecture earlier in the semester. I can't remember the exact topic, the title of it though.
I have a quick question. Is one of the things you don't address are the satellite facilities that could be a positive or a negative. But for example, the airport is a facility out there. The Beck Center could have 500 people at it at any given day doing something, and other could also be used as a place to send people. Because like the Beck Center, you could probably house 500 people out there, have bathrooms, showers. And, well, I just wonder how you integrate some of these resources that Purdue has that are off campus, because most of your focus is on the contiguous properties that we have.
I think that was some of the conversation we had about, at least sort of pertaining to that. It goes back to how a lot of the buildings and even at department level operate as sort of a little bit separate entities as a part of the university as a whole. So that wasn't really an area, that was maybe an area we sort of overlooked, especially the airport and some of the larger facilities in terms of could that be a good place to shelter people, or how would we actually go about evacuating those facilities. I think we were sort of maybe a little bit too stuck in the mindset of students.
I mean, that would definitely be something to add, you know, the specific places where you would shelter and evacuate to if we were completely compliant and then had that documentation for the 16.
Thank you.
I'd like to apologize. I'm losing my voice, so yeah. And my group should be coming back, hopefully.
That would be an asset.
Here's one.
Hey.
Hold on to him till the end of class, because I don't want to just like 3 times.
Would you please put your names on your evaluation so we can use it for attendance?
Well, yeah. Just hold on to him till the end. I don't want to collect 3 different sets of papers.
Sorry. No, because there were 2.
Yes, you can stand up. In case like this.
What?
Yeah.
Score it out on
Yeah. So I changed
The last time, I looked at it.
No, I didn't.
Oh, I just, some of the slides are supposed to be.
Like they give them scores, but then the final score is not
So it's like they got mixed up with the system slides, so I just moved it down. Yeah, I just moved it down. I went online and I just, it was just like 8, maybe 10, something like that, and I just put it in the bottom of the 8. Well, I just wanted to let you aware, it's like when you see it, and I didn't want you to talk about it, it's like, which was like, well, it's like, it changes the transition slide, like, it's like, if you're expecting that slide to
I was expecting you to be like, now I'm gonna hand it over to this.
well, I didn't know if you had done
Or,
something. That's why I
you're
was
gonna
like,
do next, and it's like, oh, okay.
that's you. I just didn't know if you had seen that, and like, that's how you're expecting it, so I wanted to see that, like,
Is Daisy actually?
So she's evidently the expert.
But she did the project for him?
I think she there's just 20 slides.
Oh, no?
I think Dr. Field tapped it.
Okay.
Speed the image.
Well, I don't think ours are bad. We have ones that are.
Sir, I have a question with the points. Do we actually do the points ourselves, or how do we gonna?
Yeah, if you guys see, if you kind of right justify everything and everything's exceptional, that's 100%, right? They've got all very goods, and that's basically knocking 20 points off. So each box is worth a point. So if you could just kind of add them up, you know, for what you've got, try to do your best with the math. So if you gave somebody all goods, that's 60%. Okay? Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks.
There are 20 items.
So there's 20 lines, 5 boxes, right? So even 4 is worth a point. Right? Yeah, fair's worth 2 points, goods worth 3, very good 4, excellent 5, right? 5 times 20. So most of us is 100.
You having trouble with your PowerPoint?
No, we were pulling up the website.
Or did you put it on a black screen? Did you turn it off or did you put it on the black?
That's the previous team.
Previous team turned it off?
minus 10 points.
Yeah.
Hey, were you in that 511 last semester? Oh, 95? Never mind.
Is it blinking or what's it doing?
It's like they're all blinking.
If it's blinking, you have to wait until it's blinking and then you can, when it stops blinking, you can, yeah.
I guess that's 0 for no presentation.
Black screen.
You guys know my right? Verbal presentation.
Well, push comes to something, you just like wing it.
You guys don't have anything on your agenda for tonight, do you?
Oh, ma'am.
No. My next class is canceled,
Not at all.
so.
That's gonna be
Go.
canceled.
Hey!
Oh, yeah.
All right.
Well done.
Alright, so we're group 2, and our goal was to come up with a design for an app for Grain and Trevor Rescue. Kind of focus a little bit more on Indiana to start with. I'm Mike Sears.
Michael Brinkowski.
This Jason Bullock. Okay. And Jason's going to start with a little bit of background about our project.
Well, for example, for those that don't know, an agriculture confined space is something like a really, it's a space where it's limited, where a person has limited. Sorry, I'm not good at this. Limited space to work with, like it's, or people are usually able to work in like a construction building. Well, in agriculture, confined space is something unnatural. You can't just work all around inside. You have to be confined to it, and you can be involved in various hazards like suffocation or drownings, or in this case, engulfment. It can be anything from like trucks, manure storage, or in this case, a silo. Silos where we store grain. And roughly three-quarters of incidents involving involving grain entrapment and engulfment of about half of them. I'm sorry, 3/4 of them involving incidents in grain storage, and half of them involving entrapment and engulfment. A grain entrapment is incidents where a person is stuck inside of grain. Like for example, you waist up, you can still be able to get in. However, engulfment is that you're completely covered in grain. There's no way for you to get out. You can pretty much suffocate. There's various incidents that could be caused. For example, aforementioned engulfment, a person could be working inside a machine. It's like working in it, and the flow of grain in the machine that flows out the grain starts for one reason or another. The person could get sucked in. Then there's horizontal collapse. The surface of the grain might look like it's solid, but if a person walks in it, you could just fall in and get trapped. Another example is vertical, where there's some cases the grain can be stuck inside the walls, and the worker has to pry up the grain. And if there's too much grain in there and it's heavy enough, it can roll in and crush it. And the final case is involves transport vehicles. And for example, a person could be working inside, or children could just go on playing around in there, and the grain might come in and might suffocate them. A person of average height the time for a person could be sucked in can be being trapped or engulfed can happen in seconds. So a person of about 6 foot height and a grain flowage of about 40 cubic feet per second can usually be sucked in just about an average of 10 seconds. Which this, as a result, is very little time for responders to react. One incident in Oklahoma, it took them half an hour to get there, partially because of the distance and partially because they had more formal training. The one reason that the person was able to survive in the first place is that they were able to use techniques that they learned in basic other situations that they were able to apply to it, and that fortunately the person was able to survive. Another complication is an allergic reaction. If a person is allergic to grain, or has a type of grain allergy, the very short time they have will be increasing further. Likewise, if responders are very limited in preparation, it could complicate matters. And as a result, it could be able to be caught in the same situation as the victim. Possible causes that over recent years, as food population has been growing, people have been needing to store more grain, and does lead to larger grain storage. And as a result, farmers have to work with more grain, and those who are experienced might be able to handle it. And as a result, they can become in a grain storage incident. Then there's the issue of weather-related incidents. Sometimes grain is a type of substance that can easily rot or develop mold. And as an result, people have to. I'm sorry, I'm not used to this type of talking. As a result of the growing of mold, people will have to come in and clean the storage bin, which might lead to people who don't know how to clean it properly might lead people not experienced cleaning it might lead to a grain storage hazard. The bulk of research for grain storage has been put. The bulk of grain storage research that's been done so far has been provided by Purdue University, courtesy of our Dr. Beal right here. Unfortunately, there's not been able much data provided. It's not comprehensive. I think Yes, about, it could be, some say that as much as 20 or 30% might be much larger than is shown in the papers. Reasons for the lack of data might be either not just not proper reporting. People might not be too ashamed to see whether or not ashamed to report the incidents. While in some cases, the farmers do not want their farms to be labeled unsafe, and the fiasco in the news. And as a result, so one proposed solution, we developed an app for this type of situation to help speed up the process of emergency. An app for those know it's like a device for mobile. It's a software for a mobile device. You need like calculators to radio to playing video games like Angry Birds, and in this case, develop safety apps. This isn't new. It's been doing. This type of technology has been available for emergency responders for years, and then recently in Chicago, in Illinois corner, such a device was developed for iTunes and Google for this type of emergency to locate brain storage. No, not the brain storage, the rescue tubes that are used to prevent brain from coming in and pull out people trapped inside. Our main goal will be, project will be, is twofold. Our first goal is to use the app to determine where the most frequent cases of brain entrapment incidents occur, and see if there's any gaps. So with it, we could be able to see where, with better detail, where it occurs most frequently and why. Our second goal would be used to design an app. Our own, there's Chicago app it's already developed. However, this one would be to see if whether or not sufficient enough where it can be improved, and whether or not we could add more features to it. Like for example, the main tool to look for was the storage. You probably want to look for other things like harnesses, helmets, ladders, oxygen materials, and so forth, in order to get a better information. For outcomes, we'll be able to get better detail on brain entrapment, and if we get tools for brain entrapment, location of tools, and be able to help responders in similar situations to provide them with another tool just like that. And sorry. Forgive me, I'm not good at this.
All right, so then next, before we start actually coming up with our own design for our app, we looked at the app stores to see if we could find any that were similar. So you can locate apps in the Apple App Store, Google Play, Windows Phone Store, the BlackBerry App World. Google Play has 1.3 million apps with 40 billion apps that have been downloaded. And Apple's App Store is 1.2 million with over 75 billion apps that have already been downloaded. So you can see this is for the Apple's App Store and then Google Play. Apple has 24 different categories. Google Play has 27 categories. And on the bottom left graph, you can see, I don't know how it'll show up there, but the purple bar that's the overall apps. The orangish looking one is free apps, and then the green are apps that are paid for. And you can see through the different categories how it's broken down. And then the one on the right is similar. It's just the different categories and the percentages of the apps that have been downloaded. So we focused our research mostly on the Apple App Store. When we searched emergency, there were 3,334 apps. And when we looked for emergency alert, there were 293 apps. The main ones we saw were weather alert, like Alert FM, Hurricane by American Red Cross. And then we saw a lot about personal safety. We only found one app in Apple's App Store that pertained to grain emergency rescue, and that was the Illinois app that Jason was talking about, and it's specifically the app is designed to search for a grain rescue too. So when we searched grain, there were 271 apps, mainly focused on grain trade, grain storage and transportation, grain calculator, and then Grainoja and some games. So the advantages and disadvantages of using apps. Advantage is a lot of times the apps you have to have data use for it, but you can use them offline. They appear in the different app stores. Limited purpose keeps development time and cost manageable. You can enable push notifications for direct contact. And then the disadvantages, there is that limitation that if you need to have that data use or Wi-Fi, sometimes that can pose a problem, especially if you're out in the country. I know it's tough out there getting that data sometimes. Accelerate information overload, privacy and security, and then costs of developing and marketing.
All right. So when we started our project, we knew that we needed to look at where deaths have occurred, along with cell phone data coverage, because in rural counties throughout Indiana and the Midwest, there's a good chance that there may be no data service because it is in the middle of nowhere in Indiana and other places. So there has been 7 deaths since 1985, according to NPR in Indiana. On the map, you can see they're scattered. There's no specific place they occur more than another. There's no specific age, race, sex, anything. Pretty much it can happen to anyone. After doing some research, which I'll show you on the website next, almost every single death that has occurred in Indiana could have been easily prevented. Again, most has happened in extremely rural areas. Most of the time, OSHA or EPA, depending on what the violation was, does impose a certain amount of fines on the company. And from what I found, is there needs to be a lot of training encouraged through the grain companies to make sure that less deaths occur. This is NPR's segment. They call it Buried in Grain. I believe, Dr. Field did work on this with the Department of Justice, OSHA, and Department of Labor. As you can see, scrolling up, grain entrapment happens in almost every state. I'm going to pull up Indiana's. According to them, again, there has been 7 deaths. For example, this one, I'm not going to read it to you. You can read it yourself if you'd like. This death could have easily been prevented. The employee went into a grain bin to remove some wheat off the side that got stuck there with a metal stripper. He hung a ladder down to climb into the bin. While climbing down, he slipped and fell into the grain, which engulfed him, and he died of asphyxiation. Thank you. Yeah, he suffocated. Thank you. And he suffocated. He could have easily been wearing a harness that could have been attached to the outside or to the ladder. So if he did fall, he would have stopped before hitting the grain, which, and it could have been that simple. For example, OSHA fined them $3,600 for not making their employees wear the grain safety. Here's another one that proves how fast the death can happen. There's a few employees working on a grain. There's a clogged pipe in it. So one went into it to unclog it from inside, while 2 employees were on the outside. When the drain finally did get cleared, the employees noticed that there was a foot, or either a foot or a leg coming out of the bottom of the bin. They pulled the first employee that went into the bin out and got him to the Goshen Community Hospital, but he died because, as we mentioned, it only takes 4 or 5 seconds to suffocate him there. All right. We focused on corn because Indiana is extremely warm for corn. Most counties produce over 150 bushels of corn. As you can see from the map, a lot of corn is focused in Tippecanoe and the counties actually around Purdue. A few in the south, a few in the east. As mentioned, there's no specific place that this could happen. There's been more drainage rapid deaths in the north, which somewhat relates because there are more bushels per acre in the north. Here's some cell phone coverage data. The one on the left is AT&T, middle is Sprint, and right is Verizon Wireless. On AT&T's, you can see the lighter orange is 3G data, and the one on, or the darker orange is 4G LTE, which is pretty much the fastest data that is available to us right now. So you can see that AT&T has most of the state covered. Of course, as I'm sure we've all known while driving around, even though it says that it's covered, there's a lot of rural areas that you can pick up service even though it says you have service. Sprint, orange, or yellow is 4G LTE, orange is 3G, and purple is pretty much roaming data, both dark and light.